this has had long-term effects in that China can change its supply chain. They can invest in other countries. They can put money elsewhere. It's not going to be a quick fix. What do you say to that?
Well, we need to define long-term. All of us hope it's not long-term because the detrimental effects will accumulate over a period of time, but hopefully not. I think, again, our producers are so productive. They're lower-cost producers, and that will carry the weight in the long end. I mean, China may replace some of that. Brazil obviously will increase acres, but hopefully it's like a drought. When will it rain? We want it to be over as soon as possible and restore our markets overseas.
So, Mr. Secretary, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're not suggesting, are you, that we could have this trade dispute with China go on for years and years without hurting farmers because they're low cost?
No, that's exactly right, for years and years. That's why I say we have to define what long-term is. Obviously, we want all the markets we can, but it's up to China to really play fair and trade fair. That's the problem. That's what President Trump has been getting at from the beginning, and farmers, to their credit, understand that. They understand the unfair trade practices that have gone on.
And we hear that, in fairness, from farmers and from manufacturers. They want fair trade. At the same time, at some point, when months turn into years, it has a longer-term effect. And as you just said, it's up to China to decide what to do. That's not in our hands. What if China just toughs it out?
Well, again, we'll go other places. There are other hungry people around the world that we will feed. We're trying to get markets everywhere along the Indo-Pacific region, as well as other things. Announced yesterday, good beginning discussions back again with Japan, EU. Hopefully we can get our Nafta deal restored and go looking for markets elsewhere. We've probably made a mistake in becoming too dependent on China for our markets there, and we need to spread those out.
In the short term, though, I mean, farmers basically expect now to lose 44 cents a bushel on this year's crop. The current bailout's only 1 penny per bushel. Are you planning a second round of bailouts for farmers?
Well, Alex, that's on corn, and soybeans was $1.65. Yes, there will be another tranche. The $12 billion that President Trump committed. We're going to be less than $5 billion in this initial tranche, and we did that hopefully into resolving some of these trade disputes and encouraging our customers to come to the table and negotiate. So there will be another tranche there.
So addition to the $20 billion, there'll be another one, or just in terms of the $12 billion? So in addition to the $12 billion, or just after the $5 billion, you'll go to $12 billion?
That's right. After the 5, we'll look at another tranche with the potential up to $12 billion. But this is a 2018 deal. We're not committing anything in 2019. The whole effect was not to make farmers whole, but to help them be able to farm again.
Mr. Secretary, we already heard from the President about South Korea as he signed the deal, saying that would benefit farmers. Can you quantify the benefit to farmers from that deal?
Well, yes, it can quantify from a stability standpoint, an anxiety standpoint. It, again, has been a great market for American agriculture for years, and it was disrupted to some degree. We're happy to have it back on there, but we are, again, a great beef market and other livestock market for American producers.
Mr. Secretary, we tend to focus on China because it's much in the news, but as you suggested, Canada and Mexico really are substantial export markets. I think actually above China for most farmers across the United States of America. Where are we on Nafta? Because we keep hearing we're getting close, and then it seems to slip away again.
Well, again, this discussion is in Canada's hands. Canada, Mexico, and China are our top 3, and it varies from year to year based on the price of soybeans, whether China is number 1 or Canada and Mexico. But the fact is that Canada has been very intransigent about their dairy imports and our access for our producers going into Canada. While they've had free range in our markets, they have not reciprocated with our producers going into their markets.
So as I listen to you, Mr. Secretary, with respect to China and with respect to Canada, as you say, it's in their hands, which suggests it's not in our hands. You don't want this to last a long time. It's not good for the farmers. But how long are you prepared to let it last? I mean, is it really something we should prepare for the possibility of, not certainty, maybe not likelihood, the possibility of this going on for years?
I wouldn't think so. I think, again, the global trade is important to all of us. It's very important to Canada as well as our U.S. producers, as well as China. China has a growing economy there. They're trying to move people out of the poverty into the middle class in China, doing a good job there. That means they want better diets. So we produce what they like and what they want. They love U.S. products, and I don't think they can stay out of the U.S. market for years. I think, again, they may replace some soybeans from Brazil, but we have too many things that the world wants here. Agricultural producers in the U.S. are low-cost, very productive producers, and we will find other markets. But I think China will be back. I don't have any idea. It'll be years.
Touching on NAFTA again, what is the disadvantage of a Mexico-only deal for the ag community?
Well, it's called NAFTA because it's a North American Free Trade Association, and actually, frankly, we live in the best neighborhood on the earth, so we ought to be trading with our neighbors to the north and neighbors to the south. It's worked very well for agriculture. Obviously, it sucked jobs out of the U.S. going into Mexico from manufacturing, and the president had to take that into consideration. But we would love to have the North American restored. We got a great boundary, a safe boundary. Canada's been an ally. They're friends, neighbors, and relatives. So we want to trade with our friends, neighbors, and relatives close by. Logistically, it makes sense. We can deliver products to them more cheaply than we can to the Far East. And
we have a question coming in from a viewer, so I want to tell that to you. So the question is, farmers are complaining that immigration policies are blocking work to harvest, so they're having a hard time finding workers there. What do you say?
Absolutely. Labor is a huge issue in American agriculture. It's one of the top 3 issues that we hear about: trade, labor, and regulation. Labor, the president wants a legal, stable workforce. We've had a bill in the House that has not been voted on. Chairman Goodlatte of Judiciary, I think, has had a very fair agricultural labor bill. The president wants a legal, stable agricultural workforce. He knows that for our agricultural producers to continue to be productive, they got to have the labor to harvest those crops.